Today, we're going to peel back the layers on something that honestly affects pretty much everything you buy and use. We're diving into the amazing, kind of hidden science that keeps the entire world of business running smoothly: operations optimization.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about it? From the coffee you grabbed this morning to the phone you're probably holding right now, a million tiny things had to go perfectly right for that product to end up in your hands. So, how on earth do companies juggle that insane level of complexity?
Well, the answer is this incredible scientific toolkit called operations optimization. And no, it's not magic, but honestly, it might as well be. It's basically a collection of really smart methods and models that help businesses make better decisions about their time, their resources, and yeah, their risks. So come on, let's open up this toolkit and see what's inside. All right, first up, we're tackling two of the absolute biggest headaches in any operation: managing time and dealing with all the stuff you can't predict. Uncertainty. You can't control everything, right? But you can for sure get a whole lot smarter about planning for it. A huge piece of the puzzle is predicting what's called lead time, which is just a fancy way of saying, how long is this going to take? And what's fascinating here is that there's no single perfect tool for the job. Take a look. On the left, for really complex tasks involving people, machine learning models can predict that lead time with about a 10 to 20% error rate. Not bad. But look at the right. For something super predictable, like an automated machine, a much simpler approach is actually way more accurate with only a 6% error. The big takeaway here? You gotta pick the right tool for the right job. Okay, so predicting your timeline is one thing, but let's be real. When does anything ever go exactly according to plan? What happens when a machine breaks or a supplier is late? That's where the other side of this coin comes into play: managing risk. So how do the pros handle it? It is definitely not just guesswork. They follow a really clear, logical process, just like this one. First, you identify what could possibly go wrong. Then, you figure out the chances of it actually happening. After that, you assess how long people or equipment might be exposed to that risk. And finally, you determine just how bad the damage would be. It's this methodical approach that really transforms a potentially chaotic situation into a much safer, more reliable operation. Okay, so we've covered time and risk. Let's close that drawer in our toolkit and open up the next one: getting smarter with all your physical stuff. This is all about eliminating waste, whether that's wasted product, wasted space, or, you guessed it, wasted energy. Let's talk about inventory for a second. Every single company faces this classic Goldilocks dilemma, right? If you have way too much stuff in your warehouse, you're tying up cash and space, but if you have too little, you can't deliver to your customers on time. That perfect sweet spot in the middle, that's called the base stock level. It's that just right amount that keeps everything perfectly balanced. So how do you find that magical just right number? Well, it's not a gut feeling. It involves some seriously advanced math. We're talking complex queuing models that can calculate exactly how much stock you need based on how reliable or unreliable your suppliers are. It's a super scientific way to solve a very, very practical problem. Now, speaking of resources, just look at these numbers. They're incredible. By installing a solar array and a heat recovery unit, this one system was able to slash its use of non-renewable energy by over 51%. That's at first bar. And then look at the second one. It cut its energy waste, which has this cool name, Exergy destruction, by nearly half. I mean, those are just massive savings. So the question is, how did they even know that was possible? Well, the secret is a much smarter way of looking at energy. You see, a conventional analysis just measures the quantity of energy you use. But this other method, Exergy analysis, it measures both the quantity and the quality. Think of it like this: a small blast of super hot steam has way more potential to do useful work than, say, a giant pool of lukewarm water, even if they technically contain the same amount of energy. By focusing on preserving the energy quality, companies can find these huge efficiency gains that other methods would completely miss. Okay, we've talked about the big picture planning and resource management. Now let's zoom in and get to the heart of the action itself: the factory floor. How do you keep those assembly lines moving like a well-oiled machine? One of the most powerful tricks up their sleeve is something called risk pooling. Now, this one might feel a little backwards at first. We're always told that specialization is the key to efficiency. But with risk pooling, instead of dedicating one worker to one machine for one task, you actually consolidate your resources into a flexible pool that can be sent wherever the bottleneck is. That flexibility can dramatically cut down how long it takes to make something and lets the whole factory handle way more orders. Pretty cool, huh? And look, this isn't just some abstract theory.
Managers on the ground are using a whole suite of practical software and systems to make this stuff happen every single day. We're talking cutting plan tools to stop material waste, powerful schedulers to organize jobs, and even test systems to fine-tune production times. These are the real-world tools that put all that optimization science to work. So we've looked at the tools for managing time and risk, for using resources wisely, and for making the factory floor hum. But this field is always changing. So what's next? What does the future hold?
As we've seen, this whole toolkit is just vast and so powerful. It helps businesses master time, squeeze every last drop of value out of their resources, and keep production flowing. But the key thing to remember is that it's a journey. It's a constant, never-ending quest to find better, smarter, more efficient ways of doing things.
And, that brings us to the final and maybe most important question. We have all these amazing models at our fingertips. Machine learning, Exergy analysis, risk pooling, you name it. The biggest challenge for every business going forward isn't going to be a lack of tools. It's going to be choosing the right combination of tools for the new problems of tomorrow. And figuring that out, well, that's the next great frontier in the hidden science of efficiency.